come briefly to the story of Aziz, that's Fatima's brother, and his family. Aziz is currently with his wife and 3 daughters in Damascus. As of this day, Fatima, on his behalf, has made 6 applications for a humanitarian visa to Australia. Authorities, in spite of being recognised as a refugee by UNHCR and having family here in Australia, have all been rejected. I wrote up a long story, which I'm going to read to you, well, not too long, a brief summary of the things that have happened to them, and I sent it off as part of one of the last applications for the family. But we got an answer back to say, this is not compelling for a humanitarian visa. You be the judge. How did he come to be in Damascus at this time? I will list in brief the main grim experiences he and his family have suffered and continue to suffer as they live in constant fear of their lives, isolated, without support, and locked in a single room in the dangerous city of Damascus. As Sabian Mandaeans, Aziz and his family were subject, as I mentioned, to constant harassment. He was born in Ramadi. He and his wife and 3 children. He was a jeweller by trade. In his application, he lists some of the terrifying experiences he and his family had. On the 10th of the 8th, 2005, a group of armed and disguised thugs raided his shop in broad daylight, demanding money and jewels. His young assistant attempted to escape and seek help. He was shot dead in front of the whole family. Aziz estimates that the thieves took money and jewels worth the equivalent of $100,000 and left him and his family in grave fear for their lives. On the 2nd of September 2005, at 10 p.m., their worst fears were realised. 4 balaclava-clad men burst into their home, terrorising the women, ripping their jewels from their necks and their fingers and taking $5,000. It was, they said, a contribution to the Muslim Mujahideen to help fight the Americans. 2 weeks later, as Aziz's wife was taking their youngest daughter, Rose, 6-year-old, to the doctor, she was attacked from behind, collapsed on the road, face down, and lost consciousness. As she recovered, she saw that her daughter had disappeared. The frantic search proved fruitless. Later, the following evening, the kidnappers phoned demanding $50,000 or their daughter would be killed. I saw a photo on the internet of one such girl, and they decided that to prove that they had intended to kill the girl if the family didn't pay, cut a piece of the ear off and sent that to the family as a warning. On the evening of the 24th of September, the kidnappers actually arrived, guns in hand, demanding the money. They returned a much traumatized, frightened, hysterical girl who may never recover from her ordeal, and she continues not to have nightmares and shakes regularly and has to sit by her father's side all the time. Aziz was faced with the grim choice, one that confronts refugees: stay in their homeland and risk further persecution, the abduction of their daughters, or death if they stayed, or risk the dangerous, uncertain, fraught journey to a country where they would be safe. Very aware that they could not depend on the police or the law to protect them, they decided to leave Iraq. And on the 28th of September 2005, Aziz, his wife and 3 children, under the cover of darkness, and leaving their house, their shop, and all their possessions, just the money that they could carry, so as not to arouse suspicion, fled to Syria. That's 2005. Aziz and his family have lived in Damascus ever since. Little did they know when they arrived there, which they thought was a safer place, what they would be experiencing this day. They were accepted by UNHCR as refugees, but as I said, they've been rejected 6 times by Australia. In the intervening years, their lives have become increasingly desperate. Aziz is not permitted to work, but meagre savings they manage to bring with them are exhausted. The children were permitted to attend school for a while, but because they had suffered so much trauma, the father would take the children every day to school, wait 5 hours outside the school, and when the kids came out, he'd bring them home. He's the only one in great danger that leaves that room, as we speak, to get a little bit of food for that family in the one room, as we sit here tonight. The family is in treble jeopardy. They are aliens in Syria without rights. They belong to the persecuted minority of the Sabian Mandaean religion, and therefore cannot return to Iraq, as many of them are doing, many other Iraqis are doing, and are caught up in the maelstrom that engulfs the Syria today. What can they do? Who can they turn to? Where can they go? How long can they survive where they are? I'm aware that there are many such stories all over the Middle East. Heartrending stories with little prospect of a happy ending. But this is one family that I know and can put names and faces. So I search for a pathway to safety and freedom for them. So, can I have 5 more minutes?
Yes, would you like a,
Sorry?
want a sip of water?
Oh yeah, that's the water. Thank you very much. I just... Thank you.
You've got plenty of time because the night is ours.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanted at one stage, well maybe this is the stage to do it. Try this, see if it works. I'm all excited. And I know that's okay, that works. And now that's so in all the churches, the places where they gather for prayer, that takes centerpiece. That's that cross with the myrtle and that the white cloth of silk representing the light.
Jim, sorry, could I just ask
yes,
a
certainly.
quick question?
Yeah.
You were saying earlier that that symbolism is not directly related to Christianity. Is that right, or?
That's my understanding, Terry. Right. Only because they believe themselves to predate Christianity.
Right, right.
So, and who would know in the history and the movement of the people around and the various influences of the groups of people they lived in or near. So
No, it just intrigues me that if that's the case, it is quite amazing how they had the cross, the cloth, almost like the crown of thorns.
Exactly.
And, you know what I mean? It's like, it's very intriguing.
That's true. And they have a book called the Book of Ginza, which they say is the Book of Adam. It predates all of the Torah and the Bible. So, but yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. Look, I'm not an expert, and I only sort of began to investigate their background when I met with this family.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it's the wrong way.
Do you want to change the...
No, I got to...
Yeah, it points toward you.
No, that's right. No, it's not the red dot. It's... Look at that.
Ah.
So that's Amanda in Baghdad, place where they worship. And on Sundays they baptize frequently and for all sorts of reasons, not just for as we would once in our lifetime. Now there are 2 holy men of the Amanda in Baghdad. That's one of the pools. Now the water must always be flowing. So normally it's done in a river. That's why they, the Tigris and the Euphrates. And sorry. Yeah.
No, you're right.
There we go. And you'll notice again the dastra, that symbol, and also there's a photo or a painting of the actual flowing of the river. And again, that you can see the symbol, the Mandaean symbol there also. So it's central to their belief system. Now that's actual in that Manda that we just saw, and it's the weekly baptism in the Manda in Baghdad, Iraq. This is preparing for Sunday baptism. This is apparently on the banks of the Euphrates. So they're all, and what they're wearing is called the rasta. There are 7 pieces of white cloth that each person, including the priest and the people to be baptized, wrap themselves in. They must not enter into the ceremonies without being clothed in those garments. That's in the River Euphrates. I think I don't know what that smokestack is in the back. And you can see my attempt to get rid of one of them didn't work, so I thought, well, two for the price of one. Now that, I think, was taken in the marshes. The water is obviously not flowing very well, but that's where they used to do their baptisms. There are three areas, or three times when they carry out the ablutions. The priests are the ones to do the blessings on the Sunday. You can do it, within the family, and there are a whole range of reasons, particularly around the Old Testament purification of women, that you would all know. That's very strong, and it's still followed. Now there's the book of the Ginza, and they use Aramaic. Yeah, they're losing it apparently, but still they still speak it in Iran, I think. But I believe in Iraq it's faded somewhat. There's another manda and another. You can't see the water flowing there, but they do have it. They make sure that they do.
Did you tell us what manda is?
The manda, I'm sorry, is the building in which, like a church. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
The origin of that word?
it might be Aramaic. I'm not sure, Anthony, but yeah. That's for your homework. That's just, I like this photo of this strong face, and you'll notice that in his forehead he has a piece of myrtle. Again, I preempt a question. I'm not sure of the significance of the myrtle, but it must be a bush that grows prolifically along the Tigris River, and somehow it was incorporated into their system of worship. See, there it is on his finger, the myrtle sprig. Now this, I'm not sure where that river is, but you can see how important it is. You can't, somewhere there's a pair of crutches, so they come down on a Sunday and they go, it takes all day. Now, so it's a full, now, where do you think that photo is taken?
Sydney.
Nepean. How did you know that? You've seen it?
Read it.
Oh. I'm just checking to see if you're awake. And you are, that's good. Yeah. Did I write that? I can't read it, my eyes have gone.
That's the Lane Cove River.
No, it's the Nepean River. They actually got special permission from the city council to go down and have their ablutions ever since they arrived. And on a Sunday they go down. Particularly before weddings, at weddings, the poor old bride, she wears a nice white dress and goes into the muddy waters. And that's a wonderful photo because the purification of the water, and you'll see, look at the light shining on his white garments. That's so the people of the light. So that's why, that's what I'm told. There we are, the worlds of, and facing towards worlds of light. Can everybody else read that? Can you read that for us? All right. Okay. And that's in the same river, and I think this is the same fellow giving the ablutions, and an elderly man submerged. Now, this is just jumping away, and this is he's a boy of the Arabs. 40,000 marsh Arabs were forced to flee Iran, and I just took and there's 3 elderly women. You can see the reeds in the background. They lived an extraordinary life in these marshes, and until the marshes were drained. Now, it so ends. Now, can I just read to you? Where did I find it here? The Mandaean conceptions of the therapeutic qualities of water. Now, STARTS. You familiar with STARTS? I know somebody's going to ask me what it stands for, and I'm going to tell you. I thought I had it. It's the service provided for people suffering from torture and trauma that's based out there at Fairfield. Do marvellous work with particularly among the refugees. And in this report, it quotes a person by the name of N. Tribe, T-R-I-B-E, in 1999. I think you'll find this interesting. Tribe ascertains that there is a growing recognition, so we're dealing with people, this report was for those who care for the mental health of refugees and asylum seekers. Tribe ascertains that there is a growing recognition among mental health theorists and models of therapy that Western models of emotional distress may not be compatible cross-culturally, and that responding to the needs of some refugees holds varied challenges for appropriate treatment. Furthermore, clinical experience has taught Woodcock, whoever he is, that refugee families may be more fixated on the change to their lives than they are on the symptoms of mental illness. However, given that untreated psychological illness has potential consequences, the therapist does have a role in assisting refugees back to health, but warns that there must be transcultural awareness regarding a group's response to trauma and exile, particularly religious and cultural, in order to properly treat cultural trauma. The transformation and healing potential of rituals and other collective, formalized and dramatic symbolic enactments should be understood. Ritual baptism contains a rich source of meaning and symbolism for the Australian Mandaean community and works as a shield against community and individual distress. Very great insight. It's a therapeutic method of purification, healing, and self-transformation in that it washes away impurity and removes transgressions and sins from the soul. In the Mandaean religion, together with the King of Light, the Mandaeans worship the great life, Hairani, which takes the form of living water, or Yadna, and translates into water flowing in a natural stream. And so they're moved now from the Nepean across to somewhere in Liverpool. They've built their own manda, and in it they have organised the flow of water through the manda, so they continue these ritual purifications. Right, well look, I just briefly, because I'm going to leave two articles here. One called Humanus Nullius, that I wrote back in 2003, and the other one called Locked In, Locked Out. They're further examples of what we have done and what we continue to do to people that we lock up. The Humanus Nullius is about a Palestinian who, a horrendous life story, family, and 4 years in detention, finally released because he was stateless, so they claimed, and his wife and 5 children in Gaza. We had to get his the family to come to Australia. We had to get a police clearance. I foolishly, it turns out, suggested that he might just contact where his wife was living in Gaza, go to the police station and get a stamp on a piece of paper to say that he hadn't done anything. He'd been 6-7 years in Australia and was a very good person who'd never done anything wrong. His wife got the paper. 3 days later, when he phoned the wife, she and the kids had disappeared and they've never been found again. And this man lives on his own, smoking himself to death out there in Liverpool. They'll never be reunited with them. And he had done nothing. All he had done, he'd arrived as a person without a nation. And so we locked him up for 4.5 years. Locked In, Locked Out is another story of a family from Iran. But I just wanted to finish, and I'm sorry I've taken the time. This is Manus Island. That's the island on which Australian government is about to send 1,500 people. I was there in 2002. 3 days was too long. It's hot, it's 40 miles south or 40 kilometres south of the equator. It's the most desolate, God-forsaken place. The people are, all the wealth of the country, of course, has been dug out already. And this is where we're going to send people. We've sent them already. They're living in tents. They're on a hunger strike, and there's 370 of them there at the moment. It's untenable. One person is close to death. They're who's started the hunger strike. That's a photo that I took on the island in 2002. But I'll just there are some of the children who are always heartrending to see them, but they seem to be able to smile even under the most difficult circumstances. That was the ablutions block, terrible place. I met a woman there, and she and her husband and 2 boys are now in Australia. They're Australian citizens. She developed one of the worst cases of, obsessive compulsive disorder? Sorry.
No, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's just, I'm very taken by your passion on this, and, you know, one of the excuses, if you like, we hear from the government is that let's put people in a situation of living death so that we prevent them from dying at sea. And they sort of espouse this nobility about this. Like, look, we're doing this to prevent deaths at sea and to prevent, you know, the smugglers' trade. But what they're doing, is it any better? I mean, wouldn't you be better off, I mean, God forbid me for saying it, but wouldn't you be better off almost dying in the depths of the ocean than living for 5 years in a hell like that?
Yeah, I agree. Do you know how much this is going to cost? They estimate over 4 years, $2 billion to run. $2 billion to run. It's a devil's island. It's, you know, the history of humanity is always we go to Fiji for a holiday. We go to Devil's Island. The 2 extremes of humanity, and it's unbelievable. And
Sorry,
thank you for that. I agree.
Yeah.
Walid Ali wrote an excellent, exactly on that point last week. I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
I'll send it to you, and it's worth reading because it's exactly that point.
Jim, what do you make of this whole excising of Australia from the migration zone or whatever? Like, I don't really understand that. Do you understand what that means?
I can give you, I've got my notes here, but if I can find it, one of the things that they're worried about is that they don't want them to have access to Australian legal. So if you excise it, then they don't have the legal processes. So if they get an adverse decision, they can't appeal it. Whereas if they are in the system, then that's one other reason why they send them here. They're going to be screened by Nauru. Nauru hasn't got a clue in terms of how to do that. It's not in their constitution as such. So it's a nonsense, and it's going to cost lives, and I don't know where it'll end. But getting back to that statement that in the encyclical that I spoke about, it'll redound more to us than to those that we cause suffering to. I'll just quickly finish. Well, you know, you've seen these boats many times. I took that when I was, no, I didn't take that one. But that's the kind of boat that the Civex was. And I took that one out Christmas Island when I was there. That's you can only just see the bow of the boat. It was a metal boat. And as soon as they get the people off, they take the boat out and destroy it. That is the system whereby they are offloaded from the boat. There's no access, no port access in Christmas Island. So they have this, you can just see the bottom of the little barge. It's a motorised barge. They bring them in and haul the thing up and then take them off to the processing camps. Now that is the main northwest camp. You've seen that photo probably before of, on Christmas Island, and I used to go there every day for 10 weeks, and it was an extraordinary experience to walk around and be with them, listen to their stories, and then say mass. I'd say 3 or 4 masses in that, 2 there and a couple of masses in other places. And it was wonderful. The Sri Lankans particularly were very devout, and many of them, the Hindus, would join us for mass. That was the fire, when the riot that occurred, and the frustration. The longer you've been there, you've given up hope. So that's the kind of thing that does happen. This is the Christian community on Christmas Island. Just a small community, wonderful people. When there's no priest, they would go into the camps and conduct little services. Huh? And that lady there, she would cook meal every second night for the poor parish priest that lived in the back of the parish in a little room. That's and that, I don't know if you recognise it, down there. Now, we come to tonight's final story, and that is Kukulan. The pronunciation is incorrect. That's the man that tried to commit suicide this morning at 3 o'clock. He came to Christmas Island. He was there, I think, for a couple of years